Joining us is a man who knows all about dating. It's Jon Hamblin, who has written a blog called The Things I've Done to Impress Women. Jon, is it really a jungle out there when it comes to dating?
Yeah, of course, and I guess you get to choose whether you want to be a meerkat or a tiger, or something in between, like a mere-tiger. That I don't know what that is. But yeah, no, it can be really, really difficult, and I think, especially with London, people can be quite capricious, you know, because there's so much choice, there's so much chance, you know, and if somebody goes on a date that's quite good, that might have potential, they might think, maybe something better will come along in a minute, and people kind of find it very hard to actually just make their decision, I think, and you can feel messed around quite easily on the London dating scene and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's difficult.
As the blog says, what have you done then to try and impress women?
Well, the title of the blog is very ironic in that almost nothing I've ever done has actually managed to impress a woman. Quite a few things I've done have managed to get me dumped on the spot. Usually in quite, like I once made a video for a girl that got me dumped on Valentine's Day, which was pretty difficult. And I once also had an awful manscaping accident just before a date that led to me bleeding from a sensitive area through my trousers into the yeah, that was not a great one. But yeah, so I mean, basically the blog is about all the ridiculous things, because terrible things seem to happen to me on the dates. I've had at least 2 dates that have ended in A&E, which is at least 2 dates too many to end in A&E, I think.
Absolutely.
You know?
Louise, hopefully no dates that have ended in A&E, but if you wanted some advice from Jon, who seems to have done it all, what would you kind of ask him?
Okay, now that I know that you've done manscaping, I don't know if you're the right person to ask, but what's a really good thing for a girl to do or say on the first date, and what's a really bad thing? What should I definitely avoid talking about?
It's probably not good to talk about your exes, obviously, is a key one. There's nothing more frightening than somebody who will just constantly talk about the boyfriend that they just left or that sort of thing. Obviously, try not to talk about your addiction to any serious narcotics. That's usually a bit of a... I mean, you know, like, just slip off discreetly to the bathroom, but don't actually bring it out, you know.
I'm actually very well behaved.
But basically, I think if you're meeting with the right person, there's not really anything wrong you can do. If you're a good match, you're a good match. And I think it's really easy to get all these rules and things in your head, but 9 times out of 10, if it's the right person, it really doesn't matter, because the conversation will just flow naturally.
OK, Scody, keep those tips in mind. It isn't just Jon that we're tapping up for dating tips tonight. We've been asking some of the ladies starring in the Drag Queens of London what advice they would give to those looking for... Still with us is Jon Hamblin, who's blogged about the trials and tribulations of dating in London. Have you ever done online dating?
Yeah, lots of online dating, actually. Wait, that sounded too enthusiastic, didn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, actually, writing the blog itself has actually been like a massive advert for online dating, in that I get a lot of people writing to me and asking to go on dates.
Right.
Which is incredible, seeing as almost everything in the blog is about me falling down manholes during dates and that sort of thing. So, but bizarrely, I don't know if people find that attractive. But yeah, online dating is certainly a very big thing these days, and I don't think it has the same social stigma that it once had, you know?
So according to these stats, then, self-employed people most likely to be using online dating sites. Do you think that might be because people aren't actually meeting other people and they're actually just stuck at home? And that seems to make sense to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's an element of that. I mean, like, if you're stuck at home all day, unless you get a particularly hot postman or woman, like, what are you going to do? You know, it is quite hard to meet people. I think that's why a lot of people end up doing, like, salsa classes and all this sort of stuff in an attempt to try and meet people. But, yeah, I mean, obviously it makes a lot of sense that if you're self-employed, also you don't have a boss watching you, so you can just be on your phone Tindering all day, you know, and nobody ever notices. You're just swiping left and swiping right, and meanwhile cars are trying to veer around you and all that sort of thing as you're trying to put the code. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But, so yeah, so I think it obviously makes sense that a lot of self-employed, obviously students as well, because you don't really have much to do as a student, you know, and you can also write your end of course paper on dating, and then it's like you're doing your student work at the same time, you know? That's the kind of clever thinking that these student types have. Yeah.
There was a time when actually online dating was considered to be a little bit kind of whoa.
Yeah.
And actually now everyone knows someone who's met through an online website.
Yeah.
Do you reckon the stigma's gone, or do you reckon people are still embarrassed about it?
Well, I think the thing that has helped that that initially when online dating came, it was basically all sites were basically the same. But these days, there's a lot of different sites, all with their own different personalities. Like you've got Plenty of Fish, for example, which is kind of like licking the floor of an Essex nightclub at 2 in the morning. Or you've got like Guardian Soulmates, which is a great way to meet teachers. So the fact that there's all these different websites, you know, there's uniform dating, there's rich man dating, there's rich woman dating, you know, people who are super into monkeys, for example. I don't know if that's one, but I bet there is. And so I think there's so much more choice that it sort of automatically reduces the stigma, because not only is there someone for everyone, but there's a dating site for everyone. And then there's Tinder for people who don't know how to spell.
Yeah. And other apps like that. There is also this kind of idea that actually London, there are so many people out there in London, and there are so many people looking that actually nobody ever really finds, because you're constantly looking for what might be better.
Sure.
And that people just won't settle, because actually there's so many people on these sites who you think, oh, actually, what about that one? And you have like serial first daters.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean that's obviously a huge danger, and you know, it's something I've experienced myself, because you know, if you lived in perhaps a small village in the era before online dating, you just had to go for the person with the least amount of warts. That was just, you know, like who kind of liked one thing that you liked. But these days, you can get so specific about the things that you like, and then you can go on a date with somebody and they're like, oh, well, you know, they were everything to me physically, but they didn't like this obscure album that I really liked, so I'm chucking them. You know, and you get people who are very, very sort of specific on dates. And, you know, I've been on dates where people have literally just listed the things that they liked at you, and you've just, and if you don't particularly like one thing, or even if you like it, but you like it in the wrong way, like if you don't like it ironically enough, and maybe you just genuinely really like Rick Wakeman, then they'll chuck you for that, you know, so it can be really hard, you know.
It is a tough world out there. Jon Hamblin, thank you for being a cracking expert.